betting site you use called?
Pinnacle.
Pinnacle. Okay.
What's up? We're live right after Mark Andrews. I don't want to say single-handedly, but he did his best to cost the Ravens that game. Uh, hope everyone's doing good. We're about like 10 Eastern time. Hope everyone's doing good. Best gambling show on the internet, Walk of Shame edition. I mean, it was a crazy week. So, what's up, Mike? Did you enjoy the games today at least?
They were good games. I didn't enjoy the results, but it was a good weekend of football for sure. Definitely way better than last weekend.
Yeah, and honestly, man, yeah. Well, I mean, am I really gonna take like junk for the Ravens money pick? I mean, come on, man. Like, I
No,
think I
look,
had the right side. Like, if there's
yeah,
a turnover battle 3-0, I mean, what are you gonna do? Like, we got to just wrap it up to variance, and also it's the playoffs. There's 4 games. I make my money. I make my cream. When there's 16 or 14 games, then we pick 5. We have an advantage on. Let's be honest, man. If I came in here ass clenched up and said, nope, money pick on anything. We're not betting. We're watching for fun. Then I would still get the same ridicule. So not a cope show at
exactly.
all.
Yeah.
But
No,
why
and
should I
listen,
feel bad about the Ravens pick? Am I going to feel shame about that? I don't know. I
no,
don't
and
know.
I felt I didn't make it on the show this week, but I felt like every one of your picks had good logic behind it, had the matchups on your side. And when you have the majority, both those two things going for you, I think it's fair to pick that side. In every one of these games, in pretty much every one of these games, the loser ended up having 2 or more turnovers. Like turnovers were definitely a big theme this weekend, and I think it cost us in a lot of games. Starting, of course, with Texans Chiefs.
Yeah,
Well, we'll talk
and
about something else in Texans Chiefs, but I'll let you take it.
so let me read my poem I wrote. Divisional
Okay.
round playoffs. The scene was set. Only 4 games, but we still want to bet. Stroud and the Texans down to Arrowhead. Mahomes and Kelsey, but don't forget the refs. Texans fought hard. They were so damn close. Penalty, penalty. You can't hit Pat Mahomes. Jaden Daniels looking like a scarecrow, shredding Detroit's defense with another fucking throw. Gibbs is styling. Dan Campbell is crying. Goff throws another pick when Detroit is driving. Go out on your sword or you can roll over. Every time I look up, another Detroit turnover. That's what we get. A big upset. Jaden Daniels and Motown putting the Lions to bed. 2:30, we got the Eagles and Rams. Saquon with snow tires like the Michelin man. He ran, and ran some more. More tread on the tires than an OnlyFans whore. Stafford battled, but it wasn't enough. The Eagles' defense is just too damn tough. Ravens and Bills, the battle of the stars. Josh Allen and the Bills versus Henry and Lamar. The scene was set. We got cold and snow. It's football, baby. We're in Buffalo. Lamar MVP? I can't say so. 3 turnovers and the Ravens flying home. Mark Andrews? Need I say more? Mark Andrews. What an eyesore. Yeah, Mike. So let's
Bravo,
start.
bravo,
Thank you. Thank you.
Shakespeare right there, dude. That should be like the new commercial for Hard Rock Bet. Because honestly, it's better. It's better than what they got. You'll have to take out some of the cuss words. Like honestly, I was
Oh,
kind of hoping you were gonna. I was hoping you were gonna drop a Joy Taylor reference in there. I'm not sure if you've heard of that
oh,
situation,
oh,
but
yeah. The
yeah,
peanut
definitely
butter.
10 out of 10. Oh, there's more than that. That whole thing is crazy, by the way. Like I don't know
That's
if you've
great.
looked into that much, but
I
it's
looked
it's
at.
super. Yeah, that is the situation. I cannot wait to hear more about that when more details get released in the offseason. That crap is crazy. But no, good poem, dude.
Thank
Shakespeare
you.
in the house
Thank
for
you.
you.
I was trying to do it like, you know how the Englishmen do, like, "'Twas the night before Christmas." I was trying to do it like that,
Oh
and
yeah,
then
yeah, I heard it.
I just don't have the wordplay. Anyways, so let's just get to the Chiefs. Chiefs Texans. I felt like the Texans fought brilliantly and they did everything to win. They moved the ball well. Stroud actually looked pretty comfortable in the pocket. We knew he was going to get pressure. But what can I say, man? I don't think it's just us just being dramatic, but once again, it's the 12th man for the Chiefs isn't the guys in the crowd. It isn't Arrowhead. It's the guys in black and white.
Look, so I'm going to disagree with you a little bit here. This is going to be unpopular, but I'm going to say it. The Chiefs were going to win this game with or without the officiating bailing them out. Okay. I thought. Like I felt like even now it would have been a lot closer. But to me, I just felt like the Texans shot themselves in the foot way too many times to win this game. For starters, those of us who bet the +8 probably walk out of here with a backdoor cover if their damn kicker can make a kick. So that was number one. They had, it seemed like, and granted, this is officiating, but it seemed like every time the Texans were moving the ball and got near field goal range, they either A, took a sack or took a really big penalty. And that killed us on multiple occasions. And ultimately, there were other times on defense where this left Travis Kelce wide open. Like, all in all, just too many mistakes across the board from Houston. I don't deny that the officials definitely screwed us over a number of times, and we'll get into that in a second. But yeah, all in all, just too many mistakes from Houston's side to win, in my opinion.
Yeah, I never thought they were going to win the game, but also that game should have been a lot closer. And Mike, it gets to a point where if you can't touch the opposing team's quarterback, then what can you do?
Oh, no, it was atrocious. It was atrocious. Like, yeah, and I'm with you. The officiating in this game was absolutely horrendous. Like, how many games can we look back at for the Chiefs this year and say, oh, if this call went the other way, they would have lost? I can think of at least 8 off the top of my head.
Well, against your Panthers, or how about the one where Fairbairn missed a kick and Reed was offsides and they didn't call it?
Yeah.
And no one's talking about that because there was such a calamity of errors. No one was even talking about that one.
Or how about the hip tackle on Dalton Schultz on the third play of the game?
Yeah, and I don't even want that stuff. I just want them to call a fair game. Listen, you're not going to get perfect officiating, and I think we've came on here. I don't know. Maybe I bitched about officiating maybe 2 times this year, 3 times. That's why we try to avoid Chiefs games. Like, I think the 2 times we complained about it was when they backdoored your Panthers out of a win against the Chiefs. And then they backdoored the Broncos when you were the only one who noticed that the Chiefs alignment on special teams was illegal when they blocked the kick. It's almost comedy at this point. But also, Mike, I lost my head during that game. I lost my head. It wasn't even like Mahomes doing the Euro flop when he was in bounds.
That pissed me off so much, dude. That flop Mahomes did just... Look, they do so much in the NFL to protect quarterbacks. The least you can do is not flop. Just have some class. They need to find some way to get quarterbacks to stop doing that, whether it's just quarterbacks coming together and say, hey, we won't do that anymore, finding quarterbacks for doing it, but quarterbacks flopping on the sideline or trying to draw rough on the passers is maybe the most classless thing you can do as a quarterback, in my opinion. In a sport where you're protected, in a sport that's all about toughness and honestly honor and class among players, that is something that I cannot stand, in my opinion. And yeah, to your point, listen, it seems like for the Chiefs all year, every good old rub of the grain, every spot, every key call in the game has gone their way. And I cannot stand it. It's ridiculous that this keeps happening to them. It definitely seems, look, you know me, I don't think the NFL's rigged, but I definitely think they have favorites, and the NFL does not favor anyone more than the Chiefs.
Well, Mike, like I said, I felt like the refs have been very good this year, especially with roughing the passers. Like, listen,
Yeah.
the slides are one thing that has been abused, but I felt like they've been great this year with roughing the passer. But once Patty gets out there, you can't hit him.
No,
And
for real.
I don't know how much we're going to get back to the Chiefs, but man, I felt like the Texans played good enough. They should have been in position maybe to win the game on the last drive. I don't think they should have won it.
They should have at least
But
covered.
yeah, Mike, they were able to move the ball the whole day.
Mm-hmm.
And then even, okay, Mike, let me just give an example. What's up, Alistair? What's up? And thank you for the super chat, man. Here's one thing that really peeved me off. Okay, Xavier Hutchinson, the Texans are driving, getting to the red zone of the Chiefs. They're about there. You could see he's clearly over. The refs have been whistling down from New York and just changing that real quick, but that one doesn't get changed. And then, of course, illegal procedure on the Texans next time and the next play on that 4th and 1. And it's just like, yeah, I feel like it's more of rubber the green at this point. I don't know what it is. Like the NFL scripted guys get feel for this. Like I think those guys are just completely in their own world, but they get their feel with this, and I can't fight them on this because, like I said, I haven't lost my head on an NFL game in like 2.5, 3 years. I watched my Vikings literally get pounded at putting the fetal and did doggy style for 2 weeks straight. Okay. I did not even get mad. Okay. We accept the variance with the NFL. There's flows in the game. There's variance that happens. But watching that Chiefs game, I lost it, Mike. I had to go for a fucking walk. I really did, man.
And I'm with you, man. And listen, this is going to sound controversial. I might sound like an idiot for saying this, but I want an investigation opened this offseason that studies the correlation between calls at key moments that benefit Kansas City, and what the statistics are in those situations, how many wins the Chiefs get off them, how many wins other teams get off them, and I would love to see those numbers side by side because this is ridiculous. I've never seen a team, a 15-win team, mind you, get so let off the hook so many times during a season. And I'm just talking this year. Who knows how many years this has gone on for?
Last thing I'll say, we got maybe the best head coach of all time. I think he's going to be better than Bill Belichick. For instance, like I don't think Andy Reid would go 4-12 if he coached the Browns like Bill Belichick did. So firstly, just think Andy Reid's the best head coach I've ever seen. Secondly, you have a quarterback who can throw a dime to the end zone for a touchdown, literally from his knees when getting strangled by a defensive tackle. Why are we giving them help?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And like I said, look, I was the first to admit before we even started officiating, I think the Chiefs win this game with or without the officials helping them. But God damn it, we did not need to do everything in our power to help the Chiefs win. Like, let this game be close. Let it be a classic and let the Chiefs win it on the last second field goal. I'm good with that. I can live with that. That's fine. But to give them the game, to essentially guarantee the Chiefs were going to win this game without a problem, like the officials did, pissed me off beyond a point, beyond belief. And I'm still mad about it. Clearly, I'm still mad about it.
Mike, the Texans had the recipe for the upset. Whether they would have won it or not, but they were actually able to move the ball, and Stroud was getting serious heat up the gut, which is like the main issue. And then they were still moving the ball, and they were getting separation. I thought maybe Jalen Watson coming back late would be scary because their secondary has really been ass since he went out week 6, week 7. But dude, they were ass again, and
they were, Well, and what shocked me is
and then the Chiefs come away with the spoils rather easy.
I was shocked at how well Houston was running the ball. Like when Houston was running the ball in the first quarter and they were doing it well, I was like, damn, if they can keep this close for 4 quarters, like they got this. Like they can actually have a chance to pull this off. But then, like we said, just Texans kept making key mistakes, officials throwing flags for no reason, like just all sorts of nonsense. But whatever, let's move on, dude. I'm getting pissed off talking about this.
Like a crybaby, but honestly, I don't complain about referee calls.
And listen, look, anyone who's Listen, anyone who's watched the show knows that I'm one of the biggest Texans haters like out there, and I'm getting pissed off that they lost this game.
Mike, I would have been
Like
pissed
this is
off.
not about biases. This is not about favoritism. This is just about like, love the sport and what we want to see in football. And the fact that Houston got screwed over like they did is complete and utter bullshit. And I want this investigated this offseason.
All right, let's get to the Commanders Lions game. Like I said in the sonnet or limerick or whatever you want to call it, Jaden Scarecrow Daniels. Man, it was just amazing. And I've loved the Commanders the whole year, but even I'm shocked. Okay, like I felt like this offense was a machine, and the long drives are one thing, but the fact that they're converting in the red zone and converting every fourth down now is simply phenomenal. And with Detroit, I mean, we could go over all the things they did wrong. And of course, I think we would start with like not running the ball enough. Like Gibbs was an absolute man, he was so phenomenal. And he somehow he could have got like 250 yards if they kept feeding him. And we can blame Goff, but that Detroit defense was really, really bad, Mike. And it came down to that, in my opinion.
So I'll be honest. I had a lot of alcohol in my system in me before this game even kicked off. So I didn't get a full recollect of this game. That said, this was a fantastic game to be drunk for. I just want to say that out loud. This game was awesome from really start to finish, in my opinion. The second quarter might have been the most like crazy second quarter I've ever seen. I don't know about you, but that was definitely up there. For me, like you said, I thought just inopportune times for turnovers really cost the Lions this game. And pretty much every turnover they had was at the worst time and place and position on the field. They had 3 interceptions or 3 turnovers when they were in field goal range. They had another pick 6 right before the 2-minute warning. And then the double pass, that was a pick 6, or that was a pick as well. So just really bad timely turnovers for Detroit, in my opinion. And when your defense is playing as bad as Detroit's was and is as beat up as it was going into the game, that was the one thing you just could not do. And Detroit had no problem moving the ball. They only played one time in this game. So Detroit's offense was good. They just kept shooting themselves in the foot with these turnovers. And I think that was ultimately the story of the game.
Yeah, man. And poor Goff, man. And I had fun with him in the limerick, but poor Goff, man. And I hate seeing him go down like that. And it's incredible, man, how he went down like that. And
no penalty on it.
Yeah, I mean, that pick 6 was really bad too, and it's about as bad as
it gets. Something I saw that I thought was a great point. Jared Goff was known to get rattled in LA a little bit once he started getting pressured and once he started taking hits. I wonder how much that shot he took on the pick 6 affected him for the rest of the game.
I think he had a concussion. They're not going to rule him out in the playoff game.
Yeah, I'm not even saying that. I'm just saying, like, from a confidence perspective, because I thought up to that point he was playing well. Obviously, the pick 6 itself was bad, but he was throwing the ball just fine. And it just seemed like after that, he completely gave in to the meltdown. And from there, that was the last thing Detroit needed as they're down 10 trying to make a comeback. So
yeah,
that was my big question.
And they couldn't get a turnover. And, man, it was phenomenal the way Jaden Daniels played. Like, smart, man. And he's even surprising me. He's starting to get, like, the passing numbers. And I just listen, man. Like, I don't know, man. Like, people are saying, "Oh, I was on the Commander." I don't know, man. I've been riding the Commanders, and I didn't see this coming. Like, I thought they could get variants where they could keep the Lions off the field, which, like, the 8, 10, 12 plays, like, we can predict because they kind of do that every single week, even if they lose. I just didn't see them converting every single fourth down and then every single red zone situation. And Jaden Daniels made some phenomenal throws, made some really bad throws.
No, he did.
It didn't matter.
Yeah. And listen, we'll talk about the Eagles Commanders game in a second, but I'll tell you what, it's going to be very hard for me to pick against Washington the way Jaden Daniels is playing compared to how Jalen Hurts is playing.
Yeah, and let's get to the Rams Eagles. And Tony, I didn't see your text, man. What's up, Tony? So let's get to the Rams Eagles. I mean, this one was kind of straightforward. It was a great game, and
Yeah.
like you posted on Instagram with the snow, it's everything we wanted. And Saquon Barkley was the star of the show again. I felt like Hurts was bad.
Yes.
Although the Rams defense, I like the way they're peaking. Felt like they battled as well. Eagles defense line was also phenomenal. Like Smith on that speed rush against Havenstein all day. Like Havenstein's not easy work, man. And he was making easy work of him. So that was rather impressive, Mike. And I don't know. Did you have any questions about McVay this game? Like, I don't want to nitpick. Like, it probably wasn't a game they should have won. But do you have questions about McVay? I don't know, man. Like, I felt like there could have been dice rolls. Go on. I just thinking out loud here.
I mean, it's tough in a snow game, man.
It's tough.
It's really tough. And look, I got to say this. Out of all the losers in the divisional round, the Rams were by far the loser I walked away most impressed with. I don't know how you feel. I don't know how everyone else feel. But in terms of which team did I think played the best and really, left me pretty impressed with the way they played, I think LA far and away took the cake this weekend.
Well, because I feel
Honestly,
sad like for them to go out that
well,
way.
yeah, and we can talk about
go out on their sword, like I mentioned in the Limerick. They didn't. Like, I just felt like I don't want to call it a rollover. Like, at least the Rams went out on their sword.
Yeah, the Rams went out fighting hard, and honestly, I felt like they were outplaying Philadelphia on a play-to-play basis. It's just, the Eagles kept getting the big plays that really swung the game.
Yeah, and also the Eagles starting with that drive, like. Because listen, the Eagles are a team like everyone will get into the Commanders Eagles game. The Eagles are a team like, listen, they're kind of like the Vikings. I feel like the Vikings and Eagles are the same, although Eagles are obviously better. Okay. But they always get in these game states where they're up 7-0, 10-0, 14-3. And then they look fucking phenomenal when they're in the lead, when they're playing from the front. I want to see what happens if I want to see what happens if the Eagles are down 10-3.
Yeah. And
like, I want to see what happens.
A comment that someone made, Rams D-line controlled Philly's O-line. Completely agree. Listen, I know Saquon Barkley finished with over 200 yards in this game, but I want to read some numbers off to you. So obviously Saquon had the big 78-yard touchdown, which pretty much put the game away, and a 62-yard touchdown started the game. I know I'm going to sound like a nerd here, but if you take those two runs out, Saquon Barkley had 24 runs for 65 yards. So on literally 92% of plays, the Rams defense was completely keyed in and did a fantastic job stopping Saquon Barkley.
Well, that's what the Commanders did the first time to him. Remember that game on Thursday night? That's what the Commanders did to him. And okay, go on.
This was a very valiant effort by the Rams defense to stop Saquon Barkley. It's just the two home runners Saquon hit were the difference.
And can you afford to do that if you're in a different game state? I'm not trying to do what if, shoulda, woulda, coulda, because the Eagles had the fucking lead, okay?
Yeah.
They seem to have the lead every game, right? So I'm not trying to do the woulda, coulda, shoulda, what if coach session, but I'm just saying, man, can you afford to do that if you're down 10-3 in a game? Or if you're playing the fucking Commanders with 12, 14 play drives going the other way on you.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I felt like the Rams were winning this game on a play-to-play basis. It's just the key turnovers that the Rams had and the big Saquon runs were the difference.
Turnovers.
And is it time? Yeah. And is it time to have a conversation about Jalen Hurts?
Yeah, man. I felt like we did it last week. Like, I question his health. He's like, listen, he's been out of rhythm all year. Like, for me, this is Ben Hurt's worst season as a starter. I kind of think it's worse than last year, even though he was taking a ton of sacks, but he was asked to do a lot more last year. I feel like this is his worst year, and I feel like they're a low rhythm offense. And, someone was putting the stat where they're like 31st in passing. Throw that out, throw that in the junk. But one thing is, like, they're a low percentage, low efficiency passing game.
For
That's
sure.
where
Yeah.
I'm at.
And they rely way too much on their receivers to make plays. They don't do a whole lot of layups that really get their guys in space.
Yeah. No, but yeah, you can't allow the big runs. Like, my question is, in this current day of NFL with the passing game, can you rely on just the running back to be the main dude on your team? Like, I remember when, I'm not trying to go back and use my Vikings, but I remember when the Vikings had Adrian Peterson, and it was honestly kind of detrimental having him at times, because the Vikings were never getting out to 10-0 leads. And then also, you're going to have like bad runs. Like, that's just how it is. I know Saquon's a lot better than he's a lot better than people like Adrian Peterson, Barry Sanders, in terms of he's always going forward. Like, he doesn't take a lot of negative play, so credit to him. But you do wonder, like, if you rely on a run game and that's where your explosion comes from, is that viable in this day and age in the NFL, especially if you're playing a quarterback like Jaden Daniels, the way he's fucking playing?
I think it's good if you're a bad team and you're just trying to make the wild card and, like, trying to improve your team's record. I think having a good running back is a serious, like, win adder, so to say. But if you're a team like the Ravens or like the Eagles and you're trying to win the Super Bowl, at some point in these games, you're going to have to throw. And when you have to throw, the running back is not going to save you. So that's my opinion on it. I think if you're an elite team like Kansas City, like Baltimore, like Philadelphia, having an elite running back, can take you over the top. But at the end of the day, like you said, you can't rely on a run game to carry you to the Super Bowl. Not in this day and age. And you can look back, the last 10 years too. I think about the 2017 Jaguars that had Leonard Fournette playing at a high level. I think about the 2020 Titans who were riding Derrick Henry the playoffs. Teams like that try to go run first with an elite back, and just, at some point when they had to throw, when they got down, it just completely bit them in the ass not having a more efficient passing game.
Now let's get to Ravens and Bills. Then we'll get into the opening lines. Mike, it's just so crazy how, listen, we don't like to go with cliches, but it's so crazy how turnovers decided this championship weekend. And the turnover disparities in these games were absolutely insane. Insanity. And I don't know. I don't know how you could say you were on the right side with the Bills when the Ravens turned it over 3 times on the road and still could have brought that to overtime if Mark Andrews would have caught the ball. But yeah, where I start with the Bills Ravens game, I kind of gave the edge to Josh Allen this year over Lamar Jackson, but I don't even think it was about that. Obviously, Lamar had the 2 turnovers. I felt like one was bad. The other one, like, listen, they turn it over one fucking time. So what? You got to play aggressive. And felt like the Ravens always had more options to win the game. And so even the 2 turnovers didn't hurt. But that turnover by Mark Andrews where he fumbled, like, everyone's going to focus on him dropping that 2-point conversion. But, Mike, that's about as bad as a fumble gets in this league, right?
Yeah, and that was worse, in my opinion.
That was way worse. And I don't know why everyone's focusing on him dropping the 2-point conversion. And it's just crazy, and it just shows the variance of trying to pick these games and why I've never been a big playoff betting guy.
Yeah.
I think last week lulled me into sleep. I kind of got fat like the cattle, and then they brought me to the slaughterhouse today. And then, I was already too deep in, where they do the maze, where they bring in the bull before they kill him. I was too deep in the maze to get out, and I was trying to shake out, and then it was just like a slow tooling for me to be hung.
No, look,
And
they showed. Oh, go ahead. I'll continue.
go on.
Sorry to cut you off. They showed the stat. Maybe it's good I cut you off there. They showed the stat. They showed the stat before the game, where it was something like Ravens and Bills had like the least combined turnovers of any team entering a playoff game, like in NFL history. And when you see that, you think, okay, this game is not going to come down to turnovers. Which, from a betting perspective,
sorry to cut you off, because that's a good point. And also, we know turnovers sometimes are based on variance, but the Vikings defense forcing a lot of turnovers, or the Ravens offense not having turnovers, is the exact opposite of variance. They play to avoid and get those. Like, it's just, that's what's wild about it.
No, listen, and when we talk betting, like not having to worry about turnovers is what we want. And something I was thinking before this game even started, look, I felt like the Ravens could win with Josh Allen or with Lamar Jackson not being able to outplay Josh Allen. If the roles were reversed and you're saying, okay, the Bills have to win without Josh Allen outplaying Lamar, I felt like there was no way for that circumstance to happen. I don't know how you felt, but that was the ultimate reason. When it came down to it, that's why I was able to co-sign and say, okay, Ravens -1, let's do this. And then, of course, the unseeable happened, and the Ravens just completely, crapped the bed and had those 3 or 4 turnovers, and it was the difference in the game.
And it was crazy, man. And I hate to see the Ravens go out this way, because it wasn't their best game. It was like a C performance. I felt like that was like maybe a B performance at best from the Bills.
It may have been their worst performance of the year.
Yeah.
Because the Ravens haven't gotten it. Yeah. The Ravens have not gotten their ass kicked at all this year.
No. And
so it could have been their worst performance of the year. And Detroit too, like you were saying with Detroit, I wanted to comment on it earlier, but to see them go out the way they did was also really rough. And I really hope for their sake, this is not the end of Detroit's run as like a serious NFC contender. Because for both these teams, just a rough way to go out.
Man, and it sucks, man, because I felt like the Ravens Bills was the Super Bowl, because I think I even said to you, I'm not sure if it was on the live call-in show or through a private message, I think you agreed with me. I mean, really, the two best teams in the NFL with all of Detroit's injuries were the Ravens and the Bills. So this was kind of the Super Bowl. This is kind of what we get in the Super Bowl. We never get anyone's best performance.
Yeah, I think right now you're right. I think Washington, maybe you could say, is playing a little bit better than one of those teams. But, I mean, with how bad Washington's defense is, it's just hard to get behind that. So, I mean, I'm with you, but it's definitely tough come playoff time.
Yeah, and anyways, not much to say about the Ravens Bills. It's just like I just can't get past Mark Andrews' fumble, man.
Yeah, no,
he's such a solid player too. You don't have to worry about him.
Especially as like what is he in his 5th, 6th year in the league? Like he's a guy you shouldn't have to worry about.
And
you shouldn't have to worry about him making those mistakes.
Yeah, and listen, I don't feel like Lamar was good enough either, but I'm not going to like go on that same narrative like Lamar choked, because I don't know, man. I don't want to go on that narrative. I hate those fucking narratives.
I think it is. I mean, this is. I didn't think it was an acceptable performance.
Think about it. Like, we're in the fog of war right now. We just watched the game. We just watched Mark Andrews make 2 of the worst plays in a 6-minute time span you can. So the fog of war, like, maybe when we think about it tomorrow, we can have a different take. I just know everyone's take was going to say, oh, Lamar choked. But I don't know, man. I don't
honestly know. The fumble he had – The fumble he had where he dropped the snap and then picked it up and fumbled it again. I thought that was way worse than the pick. I don't know about you, but that really rubbed me the wrong way.
That one was bad. I think the
Yeah, that
chat's.
was.
I kind of want to hear what the chat says because they're probably. Because I'm just
For me,
trying
it's
to.
like, how many damn times are we going to see this happen?
That's what
'Cause
I'm
this is
saying. Eventually, there has to be like, listen, you mentioned Detroit. Like, I think Detroit's going to be back strong next year. Like, I think they're going to go fucking hard, and they're not slowing down. I just do wonder if there's an end point to this Ravens thing because they got like a nice little boost for their defense, like midway, like week 8, week 9. You remember how bad that defense was the first 6, 7 weeks of the year? They got
Oh
a little
yeah.
boost. They changed the scheme around. I just do wonder though, like, do the Ravens have any way to mix and add some oomph to this without a masterclass draft? I don't know. Like, I
Yeah.
think the Bills could add more as well. Like, if the Bills got knocked out, I wouldn't say, oh man, Bills window closed. Like, just shut it. But I don't know, man.
Yeah, it's tough.
It's tough, man. It's tough. I felt like Hamlin was good.
Oh my gosh, Hamlin was phenomenal. He was maybe
like, I know he got beat on one deep ball, but bro, if I'm playing the Ravens and we get beat on deep balls by Rashad Bateman and Zay Flowers isn't out there, fine. Let them beat us with deep balls. You come up and you bang on Derrick Henry. That's what you do.
Yeah, that we were talking about that pregame. Like the most surprising element of this game is that the Bills were coming out in 8-man boxes, and Damar Hamlin was the 8th man, and he was going crazy like the entire first half. Like I was loving every second what Damar Hamlin was doing. He was the one that forced the fumble on Lamar that we were just talking about.
Awesome, man. He's just been
he was
awesome
fantastic
all year, man. He's just been phenomenal.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to the opening lines.
Okay, which one do you want to start with?
Yeah, I haven't seen them. Okay, let's just start with the Chiefs. Yeah, let's start with the Chiefs.
Okay.
Okay, what I'm gonna go. So
well, are you
Chiefs are
yeah,
at
you
home,
guessing? Yep.
Worst 15 win I've ever. Fuck, man. I guess they're gonna go Chiefs minus 2.5.
It's Chiefs minus 1.5.
Lean Bills, have to think about it. You just, man, remember when we made our Alamo to bet the Bills at home against the Chiefs? And I felt like the Bills outplayed them thoroughly that game, and yet we still needed a Josh Allen magic class run near the end of the game to win. That's what makes it tough. And you worry about the calls, you worry about the officiating. That's why it's hard for me to engage with it. I have to think about it all day tomorrow. And you?
Is this a do not bet situation for you?
Because
look, I know it's championship weekend, and like you said, you don't like to sit a game out in the playoffs, but this is one where it's like, okay, I'll tell you right now, I'm going Chiefs to win and cover because I just don't trust. I know that's kind of a loser's take.
I know.
I think Bills should win, but I mean, as much as I hate to say it, look, if this game comes down to Mahomes is throwing to Travis Kelce down the field on a game-winning drive, and Kelce gets touched and the refs throw a flag, that's BS. Like, and the Chiefs get a game-winning field goal off of that. Like, I'm willing to take I feel like that's something that could genuinely happen here. I just feel like they're going to find a way to win this game.
Yeah, if the Bills have a performance like today, I think the Chiefs steal it. Let's just say that.
Yeah. And look, this is one where, I'll tell you right now, like, I would not bet it at all.
Guys, it's just bad. Like, I can't argue with the NFL conspiracy theorists on this one because what we witnessed on the Texans game, like, listen, like that Bengals game earlier in the year with the Chiefs was bad. But dude, it's been nothing compared to this. Remember that game on Sunday night against the Falcons this year, or the Panthers game? I mean, the list is numerous, but we haven't seen anything quite as bad. So I'm not ruling anything out.
I'm curious to see what the chat thinks of this game and which side they're on. I know, I'm personally on the Chiefs just because of the reason I just said, but And something else I saw too that kind of bothered me. People were saying the Patriots back in their heyday were getting this kind of officiating help, and I cannot disagree with that more.
It wasn't like this.
Yeah, at least the Patriots you knew were a very well coached team, and they had a pretty good roster, pretty much every year. And yeah, maybe they got a call like this a time or two. I can definitely think of some playoff games where they maybe got some luck. But the Chiefs, it's literally been this whole year. Every other game just comes down to some controversy that makes sure the Chiefs get the win.
Well, yeah, man, because I've been batting football during the Patriots dynasty and doing the videos. Listen, I don't factor in the refs into any decision I make unless it's Chiefs games. And we've had to do that the last 3 years, and it's only their games. It's not like me going fucking putting on an aluminum foil hat and fucking going nuts here. It's just with their games.
And what's sad too is you would think that when the spread is +8, officiating should not be a factor. But here we are talking about it post game, after a game in the divisional round, just like that.
Well, yeah. And yo, what's up, DICD in the chat? What's up, John George? What's up, Rashad? And man, it's just, yeah, it's sad that we even have to talk about it. What the fuck are we talking about? We're talking about WWE, Earl Hebner got knocked out and he didn't do the pin call. It's just, yeah. Anyways, next game.
Okay. Next, Eagles and Commanders in Philly, of course.
Commanders +3.
It's Commanders +4.5.
Well, I think what I said says it all where I'm going.
Are you picking another one though?
I have to think about it. But if I'm +3 and there's a 1.5 point difference, I think that's enough variance where I might have to bet it, but I'm gonna have to think.
I'll be honest. My initial lean is the Commanders simply because of how bad Jalen Hurts is playing compared to how much of a hot streak Jayden Daniels is on. Now that being said, I think this is a game, since we've seen these two teams play each other twice, I think this is a game where we can look back on both those games and take something from it. And in both those games, I felt like the Eagles fairly controlled each game. Even though the Commanders won the second meeting, that game was kind of fluky. If we're looking at both those games, I think you have to be a little concerned betting this for Washington.
Jayden Scarecrow Daniels.
Yeah.
Bro, he's yeah, man, we'll see, because
he's the best rookie I've ever seen. I don't know about you, but
the best rookie I've ever seen. Wow, that's a tough one. Quarterback?
At least in terms of quarterbacks, I think he's the best rookie I've ever seen.
Yeah. He has to be, although we had a pretty good rookie season from Stroud, right? I mean, but it was nothing.
No, nothing like this.
It's tough, man. I have to think about that. But it's been an absolute pleasure to watch him this year. I got to be honest, man. It's been fun. And yeah, man. And you do wonder about the Eagles defense. I'm curious if the Commanders can run the ball. Because I felt like it was impressive they were able to run it against Detroit. Listen, I know there's a lot of guys out for Detroit, but still, even when did they lose other guys? Around week 10? I mean, we know Hutchinson went out, what was it, week 6, week 7? And then, okay, but they did start losing a lot of guys in that week 6 to week 10 period. And then I felt like week 11 to the end of the year, they had fucking no one. They were still stopping the run good, right? And then the Commanders got that run game going. So I do wonder, maybe can the Commanders move them in the interior? I think that's the big matchup I'm watching and the one I want to think about. One reason why I got a little bit nervous about the Commanders around week 14, week 15 is because one reason why I loved them earlier in the year was because their interior was getting a real nasty push every single play. And that kind of died off. And if they're able to get that push, that surge in the middle, that read option can be fucking deadly, man.
No, for real, you're right. And on the other side of the ball, I wonder how healthy Jalen Hurts is going to be for this game. because he was already playing bad coming in here, coming into today, and then he hurt his knee in this game, and after he did that, it really felt like he was just unable to move.
No, man, dude, credit to Hurts getting back out there. Firstly, I feel like we have to give him a tip to Fedora. Dude, did you see the way that fucking knee was contorted? That did not look good.
Well, I thought it was his ankle. Did you see his ankle on that play? That thing straight up got like 100% of that dude's body weight thrown on it, and he still just shook it off.
Pick your fucking poison. I mean, it did not look good. The thigh did not look in a great area as well. And Hurts is built pretty fucking sturdy. For his legs to flex like that, for a guy that thick, pause. For a guy that thick, for his legs to go that way, I mean, it's fucking incredible, and it's credit to him getting back out there in the snow. I mean, that's what football is all about. That's what makes the Pat Mahomes thing so disgusting, Mike, because this is still a tough game for tough people. And we get to see this guy who is fucking tough. Pat Mahomes is tough. Don't let him fool you. Like, he's tough as nails. But then we get to see this guy like Euro flopping like Dirk Nowitzki on a fucking playoff game. And that's the problem with the fucking Chiefs, that they're getting away with shit like that.
For sure.
But credit to Hurts. That was fun to watch. And I do wonder though, like, if Hurts isn't healthy, does that affect the Eagles' run game? At this point, Saquon's such a machine. I would say no, but you would like to have that read option. It does help to have the extra body in the ground game, right?
No, 100%. And, to your point, the injury looked so bad at the time that Chris Collinsworth was wondering if the Eagles should put their backups into the game. Like, not anything against Hurts. They knew Hurts could play and that he was willing to go out there and take the shots. But they were saying, like, should Nick Sirianni, as the head coach, sit his quarterback down and put one of the backups in who is healthy? Like, that was a legitimate conversation the commentators were having. And I think it was up for debate because Hurts was not good, in that fourth quarter at all.
Yeah, man. And can the Eagles take advantage of the Commander? I don't think the Commander secondary is as trash as people have been saying the whole year. Although teams have chosen to run first on them, and that's been a successful strategy, so you never really can find out. But I don't think the Commander secondary is trash as people think. But obviously, the Eagles wide receivers, with Goddard included, have a huge advantage there. I'm just wondering, like, even if Hurts is fully healthy, is he in the rhythm and confidence to take advantage of that? Is Kellen Moore dialing shit up to take advantage of that? I don't know.
Tampa Bay had their way with Washington's secondary for the most part.
They've had their way with like a lot of secondaries, though. But
true, you're not wrong. But my point is, I think the Eagles' wide receiving core, especially if a guy like AJ Brown, can replicate that kind of performance. Now, the question is, will Jalen Hurts be able to deliver the ball in accurate locations to enable that? But, if I'm looking at it, receiver versus corner matchups across the board, I think that's something the Eagles win.
Yeah, John Chow's on some shit, man, saying I cost his roommate $2K. Come on, man. Oh. No, Mark Andrews did, okay? Like that's variance, man. And who's betting $2K on a Ravens-Bills game? And I even said, man, like Josh Allen can win the game alone. But yeah, that's fucking cap. But yeah, man, Ohio State, Notre Dame tomorrow. You got an opinion?
No, I'm out.
I'm out on it. I
don't watch enough college to, perform an educated opinion on that.
No, I do find it interesting though. Like I do find it funny. Like I think me or you could coach Ohio State and we could win a natty. But I don't know. Maybe I'm exaggerating.
Yeah. And Tony, look, I know Mayfield is better. I'm just saying, like, looking at Philly's receivers versus Washington's DBs, I think the receivers win that matchup.
Yeah, but yeah, man, and this Chiefs-Bills game is going to be on my mind all fucking week. And Mike, It's so crazy, man. With not having the full game slate. Like, listen, wild card was fun because we had 6 games, so you don't fucking hyper focus on just like 4 games. I literally thought about this Bills Ravens game fucking probably about like 15 hours this week. It was just like fucking too much. Like, I think I got to go on a fucking vacation next week once I do the videos. Like, I think I got to just get in a car ride and go because
take the week of the Pro Bowl and just like go to Cancun or something like that. Just
yeah, I don't know. Like, and
go on a cruise, just take a full.
We're not boomers, Mike. Okay, like,
yeah.
Could you imagine someone our age going on a cruise?
Bro, cruises are fun.
Oh,
dude, I'm not kidding, man. Cruises are like the most entertaining things ever. You lose your phone for 5 days, you pay $300, and you get 5 days of just free food and relatively, I won't say cheap, but if you get one of the bands, you can have, pretty much a good amount of alcohol for 5 days. It's a good time. I like cruises. I have a great time every time I go on a cruise.
What's the average age of the people on these cruises?
That's a good point. All I will say is I have no issue making friends on a cruise.
Von's saying like they're like A1. He's been on Von. You've been on 6. Oh, I don't know, man. Maybe I'm missing out. Because I would like to go on one of those cruises where they go to the Caribbean, because I've always wanted to see like Turks and Caicos, St. Martin, British Virgin Islands, maybe a little quick pit stop in Jamaica. Don't want to stay too long in Jamaica. We got viewers from Jamaica, by the way. I did not know that. Bahamas. But yeah, that would be. Where'd you go on the cruise?
I did. I've done the Carnival cruise to the Bahamas multiple times, and I have a great time every time I do it.
But so let me ask you a question. They take your phone away?
Or no, they don't take your phone away. It just doesn't work because you don't have service on the boat. Unless you want to, the one really thing that is expensive is Wi-Fi. So unless you want to pay like, an ungodly amount for Wi-Fi, you're without service, which makes your phone pretty much
going on its 5th fucking cruise. What the fuck?
Yeah.
5, 6? Jesus.
What was that?
Dude, Von says he's been on 6.
Dude, I enjoy it. Like, I have a good time on cruises.
How many have you been on?
I think 4. But I will say, if you go on a cruise, you have to have a squad. You can't go like with 2 people. Like, you need to have an entire squad with you so you can maximize your time.
I could see, yeah, and you have to like alcohol, because I felt like that's
yeah.
I don't think I would do good there. But yeah, man, I mean, who knows? Okay, went to Mexico, Bahamas, Jamaica, Turks and Caicos. I went swimming with the sharks. Okay, yeah, like that one sounds good. Like if I could go to Bahamas, Jamaica, Turks and Caicos, I would do it. But and do they stop? When you did the cruise, did you stop and did they let you go on land?
So like the ones I've been to, you do 2 days on the sea and then you stop in like Nassau in the Bahamas. And then you can get out and like, go tour the Bahamas for a day. And for me, that was just like hitting up all the bars in the Bahamas, Senor Frogs, other ones. I actually had like some of my first beers in the Bahamas, because the drinking age there is 18. But yeah, you go around, tour around, walk around the island. It's a good time.
Chris Devine says, I have been on over 20 cruises. What am I missing?
Yeah. Anyways, and dude, I'm telling you, they're affordable too. They're like $300 for 5 days. Like, that's pretty good.
Yeah. Don't go on those like $89 ones. Like, that makes me think you're going to get fucking like, what's the thing? Not bed lice, but what's the thing that hits you when you're in bed, when you're around dirty people?
Oh, I don't know. Bed bugs.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah,
anyway,
Vaughn says 15 drinks a day. Like, hell yeah. Is that for Carnival? Like,
what the
dude?
Fuck?
Yeah, bro, do that all day.
Just straight up alcoholics. Like, there's guys like, because there's a favela close to my house. I don't even think they just sit around and drink all day near the soccer field. I don't know if they could fucking put down 15 drinks a day. But yeah, anyway,
they gotta be light drinks.
Yeah,
I can't do liquor, but like if you give me some beers, I can get a few of those down.
All right, yeah, Mike, who's your
Yeah.
picks? Like, put the over on. What are the over unders? What's Pinnacle saying for the over unders? Maybe we could get one on the over unders.
Let me pull it up. Oh, shoot.
Fucks.
What a night. We talked about football for 50 minutes, then we talked about getting drunk on cruises for 10.
I know everyone
stream.
says I'm wrong on the cruise. Like, I'm fair.
Dude, you're
to
missing
be
out. Like, look,
drunk.
I'm telling you, I bet Lauren will be on my side. The next off season, we can do a group cruise and just everyone, we could just all go on a cruise and get hammered for 5 days on the boat. It'd be a great time.
Be bad. That wouldn't be bad. Because that's one reason why I kind of did the thing where I wanted everyone to post where they're from on the Tuesday video. Because I kind of wanted to see like if there's like a central location, because the only central location from the data I get from YouTube is like California, which honestly, bro, I don't want to go to California.
Lauren and I are both from Florida.
Yeah, like there's a lot more people than Florida than I thought. Like YouTube gives me data where everyone's from, but the data isn't correct because, just.
Okay, so I got the totals here. So
they're saying
Washington,
if you're single, it's like shooting fish in a barrel. Well, that could be like the time Mike went to that bar with like 60-year-olds with Lauren.
Oh God, thanks for bringing that up.
I don't know if that's fish in a barrel. I don't know what that is.
There's if you go on a cruise, I promise you, there's like there's good fish in the barrel.
I guess I just thought they were all old, but I guess like
okay. I'm not. So quick story time. So I just no. So you want to hear a story? You want to hear a great story? So the first time, so like I said, if you go to the Bahamas, the legal drinking age is 18, not 21. So, being a dumbass 18-year-old, me and my boys all went on the boat, and the first thing we did when we got to the Bahamas is get absolutely hammered. So we go walk around, we get drunk in the Bahamas, we come back to the boat around noon, and we pretty much just like get slumped the rest of the day and just chill out, fight the hangover. We get up and we go up to like the food deck, like around 6 p.m. And that was maybe one of the only times and we're both hungover, by the way, when this happened. Probably the only time we have had a whole squad of women come up and start talking to us. And at that point, you could not have caught us in a worse state than Eric and I were in that exact moment. But of course, that was the one time that happened.
No, but Mike, yeah, you got to drink.
And we scored. Like, we ended up scoring is the crazy part. But like, it was so funny that was the one time that could ever happen.
And everyone's asking like where in Florida you're from. Because I guess there's a lot of people from South Florida now. Like, but if you guys live in South Florida, why do you guys fucking love cruises? Like, fuck. But yeah, Mike, aren't you like, don't you work in Jacksonville?
Yeah.
Are you going to get down more towards South Florida?
Okay. So I have 2 jobs really, and one of them is in Tampa. So I kind of go back and forth, and that's why I'm always traveling. So one of my jobs is in Tampa, their one's here, and I kind of just go back and forth at least once a month to go do their job.
Gotcha.
But, yeah. Man, okay, so I got the spreads here. If you're ready to, the over-unders. Enough talking about getting drunk on cruises. Okay, so Eagles Commanders is 49.
That's tough.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go over.
I think I'm going to go under, but that's tough. Because the long drives, right? That's what makes it tough.
I just think that Eagles hit a few Saquon runs. I think Commanders either A, get some turnovers, or B, hit some big plays of their own. Both of these offenses, I feel like, have the potential to be very explosive when they want to be. And when I see that, and I think championship game, I feel an over. Keep in mind, too, the last time these 2 teams played, I think both of them have hit the over.
That's true.
So matchup-wise, I think I'm going over.
I think that gets bet up to like 52, by the way.
Maybe. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good one again tonight if you're going to bet it. The other one is... Oh, well, did you have something else to say?
No, nothing. That one's interesting. That one's tough.
Okay. Bills Chiefs is 48.
That's high for a Chiefs game.
Yeah.
No, you remember when the other games used to be like between like that 47 and a half to 52 and a half, not 52 and a half, but they used to be in that 47 and a half to 50 and a half every single time for like
Yeah.
5 years. And then just this year, it's like 42 every fucking game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going under on that money pick. That's a money pick from me.
Yep, I agree. Um, and this is probably the game, kind of what you were saying about the last game. I don't see either of these teams hitting a lot of big plays. And I feel like both of these teams, for the most part, have the tendency to start games slow. The Bills are a bit better, I would say, but neither team I feel like is coming out of the gate and hitting the 50-yard bomb.
I agree, man. And I do think this Chiefs secondary will be better at Jalen Watson back, but I didn't see any improvements. Not that Jalen Watson's a world beater by any means, but like we were saying earlier in the year when we're talking about them playing the Panthers, teams like that, they have a real problem in the secondary with the Chiefs. It's their worst secondary in the Reed Mahomes era. So you do think Jalen Watson's going to help, but you also one thing you mentioned is the main reason why I'm going under making a money pick is because the Bills, I think they'll be able to run it because the Texans were able to run it on the Chiefs. Now, that doesn't mean like different games, different game states. We know that doesn't mean anything, but I feel like this Bills offensive line is pretty fucking physical.
No, for
And I
real.
think Josh
And they
Allen's
ran
going to
it.
run it.
They ran it in the first game too fairly well.
Yeah.
When these teams
And
played back in week 12 or whatever it was.
yeah, and Von Smith mentioned something very interesting. And I think you mentioned this when Pacheco was coming back. Kareem Hunt has pretty much taken Pacheco's starting spot. I mean, I don't know who's going to start the game physically, but I think we know Kareem Hunt's going to get more carries. And I think that's a fucking concern for the Chiefs, that Pacheco and Kareem Hunt have no explosion.
Yeah, I'm with you. That definitely, yeah. And honestly, I felt like the Bills did a pretty good job on Derrick Henry today.
Like you said,
And if,
Hamlin up banging. I'm surprised they put
yeah,
8 men in the box. I mean, when the Bills did the soft fronts, like the 7 in the box, yeah, Henry was running it for 9-10 yards a clip. But once Hamlin got up there, it was a pretty fucking good battle. And they
yeah.
kind of won the battles there. And Lamar did get some rushing yards, but none of that was like, and none of it was like really designed. It was him scrambling. And if Lamar scrambles on you, what the fuck are you going to do? Like, you're going to give up 3 or 4 of those a game because he's just too damn good.
No, I agree. And like you said, I think the most impressive part about Buffalo's defensive performance today is how physical they were at the line. Because like we talked about all week, like they were definitely the smaller team entering this matchup, and yet they still were going blow for blow, hit for hit, in the trenches the entire game, pretty much.
That Ravens offensive lines got a lot better as the year went on. And
Yeah.
Chris mentioned something interesting. And also the chat's mentioning Taylor Rapp might not play, which is a concern because, I mean, Rapp went out on his sword. Like, that's how he's played the whole year. Him and Hamlin are just headhunters. I love it. So what's Rapp's injury, firstly? I didn't even see the fucking injury. It was a hip, or what? Am I fucking
I don't
crazy?
know. I would have to go back and look at it.
Fog of war and all that. But I do think what Chris mentions is why I want to go the Bills. And one reason why we had to talk so much about the Texans Chiefs officiating is because the Bills obviously have the better offense in this game. And
No,
I
I'm
don't
with
think
you.
there's any like Chiefs churn on coming. Like, everyone keeps waiting for the Chiefs churn on. Like, first it was going to happen week 10. Then it was going to happen Black Friday against the Raiders. And then it was going to happen this week against the Texans. Everyone said they're going to beat the Texans by 20 points. They're coming. They're rested. And then, like, there's just never been this kick. So if you just, I know you can't judge the full sample size with the playoffs like the regular season. In the regular season, we can use the sample size and we can use it to our advantage. In the playoffs, it's a one-off situation. It's fucking wild. We're seeing people melt. You could say I melted on the Tuesday show, but we saw Mark Andrews melt today. We saw Jared Goff melt. We've seen a lot of people melt who you wouldn't really, well, Jared Goff maybe, but come on, man. Like a lot of people are melting down, and we just don't see that during the regular season. I just think without a meltdown and officiating help, this should be the Bills game, and it should be the Bills or Ravens in the Super Bowl. It really should. And if the Eagles and Commanders beat them fair, tip my hat. But it's been the Bills and the Ravens year all year for me.
No, and you know, to your point too, kind of going back to something you said earlier, I think Josh Allen can take advantage of the Chiefs secondary. Like, even though his receivers are not that good and are not going to be burning anybody, I feel like I still trust Josh Allen to make some tight throws and get his guys the ball and make some key plays down the field that could change this.
Yeah, and also, yeah, like Tony's mentioning something kind of interesting. He can't see Mahomes turning it over 3 times. Yeah, that's why this game's going to be so fucking tight. But even if Mahomes turns it over, we could get a fucking illegal contact, or like against the Bengals, phantom illegal contact on the other side of the field where the throw didn't go. Like, so yeah, don't rule anything out. But one thing about Josh Allen, he's played so smart this year, which I'm surprised.
I gotta say too, was it just me or did Mahomes start yesterday's game very slow? Like, he was missing throws in the first quarter. I think he started like 2 for 7, like passing the ball. Like, obviously he was better in the second half and, you know, further on in the game, but like, he definitely did not have the best start. So to say that this is like the Chiefs offense is peaking right now is just not a factual statement.
No, and I get why people keep thinking they're going to peak, but I don't know, Mike. I'm not seeing any evidence because, like you said, like week 6 or week 7 on the live call-in show, like, bro, if you brought up Pat's stats, they're kind of like Daniel Jones. Like, I don't know how they look now, but I know how they looked at like week 8. They were like kind of like Daniel Jones. And I'm not saying like Pat Mahomes sucks, you know, but you know what I'm saying. Fuck stats, but has some relevance.
Yeah, and I think the lack of separation from his receivers was definitely something that was contributing to that. And obviously there are a lot of bounces that results in interceptions too, which kind of hurt. But this has not been Mahomes' best year, and he'd kind of been playing better or near that top 5 level we're used to end the regular season. But then that Texans game happened, and I did not think it was his best day. Now, obviously, Mahomes is like not best day is still a pretty decent day, but you know, still it's something to keep in mind when you're facing maybe the second best team in the AFC, if not the best team in the AFC.
Yeah, and like, listen, and then one thing you mentioned in the first Texans Chiefs matchup, which probably that one the Texans really should have won. Eric, thank you for the super chat. Bills plus 4.5. Yeah, I mean, if you tease it to there, that makes sense to me. People want to tease the Commanders and Bills, which I want to argue against. It's just in the playoffs we see a ton of blowouts, like we see in the first few weeks, which which always is hard for me to handicap. So, but what was my train of thought? But yeah, man. Joe Thuney playing left tackle. I mean, I know like Rousseau and Von Miller aren't really like vibing out and balling out this year, but fuck, I think that's the pivotal matchup. Like, if Von Miller was just a little bit better, because Rousseau's always on the other side, right? And then Von Miller is going to be going up against Joe Thuney. Both matchups favor them, but I don't know. Have you seen anything out of Von Miller? I haven't. I don't know about
No, nothing. He's nothing to make me be like, oh yeah, he can definitely take over this game.
Yeah.
I will say one thing that if there's one thing, and this is going to the other side of the ball, if there's one thing I really wish we had talked about more going into the Texans-Chiefs matchup, we talked about against the Chargers. The Texans O-line had been very bad against stunts and blitzes and just picking that up. And we kind of just assumed that had gone away after the Chargers game. But it completely came back to bite us in the ass against the Chiefs. Steve Spagnuolo had himself a day against the Texans O-line. Now, granted, I thought C.J. Stroud should have thrown the ball away a number of times and really could have avoided some of those sacks, but there was no doubt he was bringing and generating pressure pretty much every pivotal play in that game.
Yeah, and
that's my one regret from the week. That's my one big regret.
Yeah, I agree, and I agree. And do we want to give Patty a pass because the Texan secondary is pretty nasty? I don't want to give him a pass. Like, I love the Texan secondary too, but I don't want to give Patty a pass on that. Like, that's why I'm leaning Bills.
I'm not, because he was missing throws. Like, he had guys open and was missing throws in the first quarter.
He was. So
like that, you can't argue that. That has nothing to do with the receivers not getting open. That has nothing to do with this O-line. That's just on him.
Did Amari Cooper do anything today? I see someone mentioning him in the chat. Like,
no, I've been waiting for him to go off too. I think he's definitely the most talented receiver in that Bills receiving room. But yeah, he's been quiet ever since like his third week in Buffalo.
Yeah, and Shaka, I kind of get what you're saying, man. I kind of want to touch on this before we go. Football is not fun anymore. Money is their number one maker. Like, dude, honestly, I've had maybe more fun this year since like 2010, 2009 watching NFL, to be honest. But if I'm forced to watch the Chiefs in a window without other games where I have to watch commercial after commercial, and then I have to watch the Chiefs, and then I have to watch flags, then I have to see someone like Troy Aikman go crazy like me. And
yeah,
that's when it's not fun for me. Like I said, like, I wasn't being dramatic. Like, I haven't gotten mad during an NFL game in a long time. I fucking lost my head and had to go for a walk, Shaka. So, like, I get what you're...
Listen, huge shout out to Troy Aikman for calling out the receivers or calling out the referees on their bullshit. Like, he's probably gonna get fined for that. He's probably gonna get a talking to from the people at ESPN. But huge shout out to Troy Aikman for not letting that crap slide. Even Joe Buck was getting annoyed in the booth at that. And Joe Buck Joe Buck never shows emotion to anything, and he was getting pissed.
And I wonder how my props did today. I think they did rather well.
Yeah, the props did good. That was the one thing we can really walk away happy with.
The saving grace. Yeah,
Dallas Goedert. I had Dallas Goedert over, and that was my big one. And it came through.
Good. And I because I know I had in the Lions Commanders game, I know I had De'Ami Brown. I had Jaden Daniels over rushing yards. I don't know if that hit. I know De'Ami Brown hit. Pretty sure Jameson Williams over hit. I know the Khalif Raymond hit over 5.5.
AJ Brown under hit.
Geez, what's going on with that, man?
Yeah. Well, I think he's kind of their downfield threat, really. Or like, most of his big plays come down the field, and Hurts is just not throwing confidently in that direction right now. Now, granted, AJ Brown also had some really bad drops today that kind of screwed him up. But yeah, definitely is not in sync right now with Hurts, and I think that's hurting him.
And Kyle's saying, if we expect Chiefs Bills to be close in the fourth quarter, which I assume you do?
Yes.
So Kyle's saying, if we expect that game to be close going in the fourth quarter, shouldn't we go over? Because I do agree with that fundamental. Like, that's something I've been saying. Like, if a game's close with two good quarterbacks, that shit ends up always circulating towards over. But with the way these Chiefs games and the game flow go with their games, and I don't know. Like, I could even see the game taking off in the fourth quarter, and we could see 21 combined points, and the shit still goes on. That's where I'm at with the Chiefs. I don't know about you.
I don't know. I don't think we're going to see the big plays to really drive to really like carry this thing over in the fourth quarter. Like, I don't think this is going to be like this isn't going to be like this isn't going to be like the 2021 divisional where the Bills had the 13-second game. If you remember that one, I don't think that. Yeah, I don't think this is gonna be like that game where both offenses are
Oh,
just scoring 70-yard touchdowns at will in the final seconds.
that's kind
Like
of
when
when
we
I
talk
got.
about a game,
Go on,
yeah,
go
when
on,
we
go
talk
on.
about a game getting pushed to over, that's what we mean. I don't see that happening in this game.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. But yeah, man, have to think about these over unders. I'm not doing first half over unders anymore because I did the research on the Rams. I know you've sat through the games, and I don't know anyone who's had a better read on the Rams than us. Let's just rip it up, rip it up,
What
rip
was
it up.
so ass about that too? Like both defenses really were playing well in that game, and it still hit over. I was like, I saw the score was 13-10, and I was just immediately thinking like, damn, that sucks for Lawson, man. I know he went to work on that over under.
It's kind of funny, man. Like you
Yeah,
gotta laugh. I mean, because when it's against you, when it's against you, and
yeah.
Mike, I always worry about this going into the playoffs because like I've just never that wild card day. Like I felt like I painted almost a perfect picture, but I still came out of it like 4-2. And I felt like I painted a perfect picture, and I still came out of it 4-2 and didn't like get like 5-1. But it's just like the playoffs are so damn tough, man. It's
Yeah.
like it's and there's nothing for us to pick out, and then these spreads move, and unfortunately, okay. Here's one thing here's the only regret I have of last week, and then I'll let you get your last words, and then we'll go. We said on the opening line show, we mentioned public money and big money goes on the Chiefs every fucking week. So I don't know why I was so fucking antsy to lock in the +8. I don't know why I was so antsy because I don't know, because it closed at 9.5, and that's kind of what we said would happen. I don't know why I was so fucking antsy.
You know what was
Maybe
weird
because I
about
like
that? What was so weird about that? I don't know how it was for the sites you use, but on Hard Rock, that was 8.5 the night before kickoff. And then you go the next day and I looked at it again and it suddenly jumped to 9.5. And I was just like, what happened here? Like it was sitting at 8 confidently the entire week and then just jumped up to 9.5 at the very last second.
Well, here's what happens,
Like that was
Mike.
not one I was gonna bet late. When you're talking an
Because
8.5 point spread and we're betting on big point totals, like I'm gonna get that in early every time. And I have no regrets about doing that.
it works. It works more than it doesn't. Like I've
Yeah.
seen so many -3s close at -4.5s. For instance, when I look at the Sunday lines and I see what people end up getting on Patreon when they leave it late. But also it's because a lot of these books are fucking around, man. Because in the past, okay, normally you can go big money. They take the limits off like once you get to Thursday at noon, but some of the books are leaving the limits on. So the people who want to put big money, who want to put like 20K on a game, they have to wait till like
Oh yeah.
fucking Saturday night or Sunday morning, and that's why we get those big shifts. I don't know why they're fucking around. They do that with soccer, but yeah, I understand soccer more because there's so many more bets. But anyways, we'll go.
Yep. We can stay. I'm good to stay live for like 5 more minutes and answer questions if you're a game.
But yeah, Shaka, yeah, man, it's yeah, man. Try not to let it beat you up. It's the playoffs. Prepare for craziness. I wish I should have been more mature. Like I had like a pretty cautious tone this whole week. But I gotta say, like I was feeling pretty fucking good after the wild card week. Even with my Vikings getting fucking slammed. And I guess that's what's so tough about it, because I was even pondering on one of the videos, and I think on the Friday Collins show, if you came on, I wanted to ask your opinion on this. Like, listen, I didn't think we would see a Detroit defensive performance like we did against the Vikings against the Commanders, okay? I felt like maybe we'd see more week 12 to 17. But I thought it would be a better performance than what we saw week 12 through 17, but still pretty weak. But man, they look bad. And that's one thing that what happened to the Vikings. That's one thing I'm trying to figure out. How
Yeah,
did that go so bad so fast?
it was definitely a fair criticism to have. And like I said to start the show, the turnovers that Detroit had came seemingly at the worst time and place, like in the game. Every time it felt like that was, it was either in the red zone or like, down 10 and they need to score, or right before the 2 minute warning. Like all of Detroit's turnovers could not have happened at a worse position and spot on the field. And it just set Washington. It just gave all momentum to Washington's offense. And I'll tell you what else surprised me about Detroit's defense. I was shocked at how well Washington ran the ball in the second half. That was something I did not see coming. I thought Detroit was at least going to take a stand against the run and keep Washington one dimensional, and that just didn't happen in the second half at all.
Yo, thank you, Priest. Thank you, Shaka. Yeah, man. I like I said, like you just gotta keep an equal head. Like you can't let the variance get to you. So, because this league's wild, man. Like, firstly, it's wild, and secondly, NFL's the best thing to bet. I just wish we had more options than 2 games this week. That's the only thing I wish. And that's why, like, I felt like people thought I was like crying when I was saying like it's more of like a melancholy feeling when we get to this time of year. I don't know about you, Mike, but it's more like melancholy to me. I can't say like I enjoy divisional round and AFC championship all that much. Listen, I enjoy wild card. But like I've always said, the best week of the year is fucking week 1, man. I don't care what anyone says. Like week 1 is the best of the year.
Yeah. It's week 1, the Super Bowl, and then the NFL draft. Those are my top 3.
No, Mike, seriously. I even agree with you on NFL draft. And also, like, I don't know about you, man, but when it's fucking first week of NFL, like I wake up, like, you know, you wake up a little bit fresher. You start humming when you wake up. Your dick gets a little bit harder. The food tastes a little bit better. Like, it's just everything's better once it's week 1, and once we get to AFC Championship, it's we have to watch Pat Mahomes, and we have to wait for something to happen. And we remember when I told you, Mike. You remember when the Bengals upset the Chiefs in Arrowhead? And you remember that last play where the Bengals batted it down? And I knew it was fourth down. I was following the game. I was extremely intrigued in the game. And I almost didn't believe it was over. Like, I was shocked that the Chiefs lost. I was expecting a flag to continue the game. It's just...
Yep. I remember that. That was definitely a sad moment.
No, thank you, Lorenzo.
I'll tell you what, my week 1 experience this year maybe will never make me excited for week 1 again. I don't know if you know where I'm going with this, but the Panthers played the Saints week 1 of this year. And for those of you who forget, the first drive was like a 50-yard Derek Carr to Raheed Shaheed touchdown. And the first offensive play for the Panthers was a pick. It was like 30-3 at halftime, and the final score was 47-10. I don't know if I will ever recover from that game. Thankfully, we got revenge and ended up getting their coach fired. That was cool. But that week 1, I don't know if I'll ever heal fully from that week 1 game. That did insurmountable damage to my psyche.
Oh my dude, waiting
all summer for week 1, and the first goddamn play of the season is a Bryce Young interception, already down 7-0. It was just brutal.
And it was a high-low read, and he took the wrong read, and it was a good play.
Yeah, bro. That was ass. That was one like, dude. I hope we run the ball to start next season.
And then I money picked the Commanders plus 3.5 at the Bucks, and the Commanders lost 28 points, and and it looked like an idiot, but we
hit that Lions bet though. That Lions bet hit, and that was big.
Yeah, Lions have been clutch this whole year. Like they were an absolute machine covering. Like they were always a machine covering, but the fact that they got like the number one ranking in Vegas's power rankings. Maybe the Chiefs are rated above them. I don't know. We can debate that. They never release it. We just have to guess with the point spreads. But so like they were 1 or 2 on the Vegas power ranking, and they were still machine-like covering. It was absolutely phenomenal, man, what they did this year. I've never seen performance from a favorite this year.
And they seem to have no shame or like holding back, I guess, in running up the score. And I won't even say running up the score. I just won't say they didn't take their foot off in a lot of games where they were dominating. And that was really nice to have when we were betting on Detroit. And like I said earlier, I really hope so Detroit is more than likely to lose both their coordinators. Obviously, we know both Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn are top 5 probably coordinators in the NFL. And they're probably going to lose both of them. I hope that doesn't set Detroit back and keep them from being the top team in the NFC. Because I really have enjoyed seeing Detroit at the top here over the last year or so.
Now, okay, I Ben Johnson, he's petulant, man. Like he kind of awesome. Is. Yeah, but he's kind of has like an odd personality. And so I can't read him. Like he might stay with the Lions again.
No, he's leaving. They have confirmed he is 100% going to take a head coaching job this offseason.
But which job?
That was one of the first things that came out. That has yet to be announced. They said he's going to make a decision by the end of the week. Personally, if I'm him, I'm going to Chicago, and I'm going to see what I can do there. Or Jacksonville. Jacksonville will be my other pick. But yeah, it sounds pretty certain that he is not coming back to Detroit.
But everyone's saying he prefers the Raiders over the Jags and Bears. But why?
I mean, Tom Brady sweet talking him maybe. He gets to pick his own quarterback.
Yeah, maybe he gets more power.
Maybe, yeah.
I get why he wouldn't want to go to the Jags, who got fucking Trent fucking Baalke, paying people like Gabe Davis and Christian Kirk like their number one receivers, like you would pay Garrett Wilson if he hit the open market. They'll give that to Kirk and fucking Gabe Davis. Like Gabe Davis was like fucking dreadful this year. Called it, but like he was fucking dreadful this year. I've never seen a guy worse than Gabe Davis who got paid, man. I've never. I know everyone wants to focus on like Albert Hainsworth to the no names, and they want to focus on people who are easy targets. Like, but Gabe Davis was fucking horrendous this year. I don't know how much of the Jags you watched. Like, you didn't need to watch a lot. You could just watch those first 4 weeks. He was absolutely horrendous.
I live in Jacksonville, and I hear a good amount of the shit that they deal with. So, and yeah. My thing is, I just think Ben Johnson would do wonders with Trevor Lawrence.
I think so too. He should go there, but you have to deal with fucking Trent Baalke.
That is true, and that's probably going to keep him from going there.
But why doesn't he just force? But are the Jags smart enough? Do they know that this guy is an absolute wizard?
Shad Khan probably loves Trent Baalke more than he loves his wife.
No,
because there's no reason. You go look at some of his drafts the last 4 or 5 years. He is terrible. He cannot find talent for that team. And they've been like evidently bad picks at the time. I mean, just look at the
Thomas Jr. was the first good draft pick they've had. And we can even say the Trayvon Walker pick sucked ass, even though
dude, we did that stream. We did that stream together, and we both said at the time that there is no reason you should have picked him over Aiden Hutchinson. And Trayvon Walker, to his credit, he had 10 sacks the last 2 years. He's not a terrible player, but it's just clear and obvious. Quiet 10 sacks, yes, but it's just clear and obvious. It was clear and obvious going into that draft who the difference maker was at that position, and they still went with the worst player.
Wiz, if you get Ben Johnson, I think that shit's getting churned around. But I do wonder how he is dealing with people. Wiz thinks he's going to the Raiders. Like Schefter thinks he might go to the Raiders. I don't know. But I get it because they don't have a GM and he can just pick his dudes and go in with his dudes. That's what I would want to do. Although I want Lawrence. Because if he can make Goff look like a stud, what he could do at Lawrence, then with Aaron Glenn, Mike, I think it has to be the Giants. And then I think he's going to bring back Rodgers, and we're going to go through this fucking roller coaster again and probably lose fucking money. So.
Probably. I think Aaron Glenn would be the perfect fit for what the Jets need.
So if you bring in Aaron Glenn, okay, hypothetically, you bring in Aaron Glenn, do you bring Rodgers back?
I don't know about that part. I don't know if I'm bringing Rodgers back. I don't know there, but I think if we're talking, I want to rebuild the culture of the New York Jets, I am taking Aaron Glenn.
But how about it, man? We got a Teddy Two Gloves showcase.
You know what my favorite part of this weekend was? Okay, so Jared Goff took that hit on the pick six. He gets checked out. Lions offense immediately comes up the field. And Ben Johnson is like, I got a backup quarterback in here. Let me just throw my best trick play at the Commanders defense. And then Jameson Williams hits that 75-yard touchdown and probably does the most diabolical celebration I have ever seen. That was my favorite sequence the entire weekend, and it was awesome. I loved every second of that game. Last night was so much fun. I had a great time.
What a dog. Like, he's a dog.
Dude, I'll tell you what, man. There are going to be some serious fines coming this weekend for some people. Between Troy Aikman saying the refs suck, all the Houston players that were complaining, Jameson Williams basically raping the floor as a touchdown celebration. Like, you're going to see some crazy fines this week, man. I cannot wait to hear the reports on Tuesday as to what some of these guys got.
So this is what's interesting, because I didn't follow this. When they brought in Teddy Two Gloves, like, listen, I'm up on the injury reports. Like, I'm looking at the Lions injury report every fucking day. Okay, so Joel is saying they're saying the rumor is Hedden Hooker is following Ben Johnson wherever he goes. What happened to Hooker? Why did they sign Teddy Two Gloves?
Well, and keep in mind, Teddy Bridgewater literally just signed with the Lions. A month ago, he was coaching up. Yeah, he was coaching up his high school football team to the state championship. So Teddy hasn't been there very long. Yeah, so I don't know that. I like Teddy Bridgewater. He's a good guy. I don't like him as a quarterback, and I hated watching him when he was with the Panthers, but decent guy overall. I'm glad he got a job.
Yeah. And other coaching, did we see anyone else get jobs?
No, not besides Mike Vrabel so far. Dallas did end up. Can we talk about how Dallas just completely screwed Mike McCarthy? That made no sense from, I think, every aspect, and was probably the worst thing they could have done to both Mike McCarthy and their own team. Because by letting him go, or not resigning him, or whatever you want to say, by doing that, they missed out on the chance to interview Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn, Cliff Kingsbury, all these guys who they could have interviewed last week while the Lions were on a bye week. They missed the opportunity to interview those guys, and now they're a step behind everyone else just because they didn't bring back their head coach.
And Mike, and what they did to Mike McCarthy wasn't right, man. Because listen, if you're going to fire him, just fire him, and hell, someone might want to give him a go, because like you said, you were saying before that the Cowboys were a pretty fucking decent outfit, week 11 on.
Well, they didn't quit. It was the big thing. They really did, I thought, put in a good effort every week.
No, and they did reinvent themselves.
Yeah.
They played better against the Commanders than everyone else.
Yeah, they swept they didn't sweep the Commanders, but they played the Commanders. They should have swept them. They played the Commanders tight both times. They beat the crap out of the Panthers when the Panthers were seemingly playing with everybody. They beat Tampa when Tampa was hot. They almost beat Cincinnati. Dallas was playing like a good football team to end the year. And, I know we sometimes crap on owners when they fire their head coach before the season ends, but I think what Dallas did to Mike McCarthy was way worse.
It's fucked up. Dude, just why sandbag a person like Mike McCarthy isn't that bad a guy. I wouldn't want him as coach, but if the Bears get him, fair enough. I'm fine with, if I'm a Bears fan, I'm fine with Mike McCarthy. I'm fine with a little bit of stability.
I would like to do a little better than Mike McCarthy if I'm a Bears fan.
I agree, man, but I wouldn't want Mike McCarthy, but what about Flores? I wonder if he gets a job or if that lawsuit he has, and he's an ordinary motherfucker like Ben Johnson as well. So I wonder if Brian Flores is in this mix with the Jags, maybe. I don't know, man. It's interesting.
I think Flores would be a very good Chicago fit. I think he would. So honestly, if I'm tiering all the head coaching candidates, I have Ben Johnson at one. He's the undisputed, like, needs to go number one. Then, and obviously, okay, Mike Vrabel was two, but he got hired, so he's out. Brian Flores is three. Liam Cohen was my four. I had a list the other day. I'm trying to think of them all.
No, Liam Cohen should be up there. I think Liam Cohen and Aaron Glenn should be tied, though.
Yeah, Aaron Glenn was next. I had Joe Brady was on the list, the Bills offensive coordinator. He's been phenomenal.
Well, how is he at talking? Because I don't know their personalities. Like, I know Brian Flores can do the coaching stuff and the interviews and shit, although might be a little bit tough on people.
I think Joe Brady has like McVay like upside if you can get him. And he was honestly like, even when he was with Carolina, he was a good offensive coordinator. He just didn't have the talent to really make that come together. And I felt like he got scapegoated, out of that firing. I know people are going to hold that. People are going to hold that against him, but take that as the Panthers just being incompetent, not Joe Brady sucking at his job.
People have to take blame for when people draft quarterbacks or the people who pick the players and they don't pick players who are up to snub, and then someone has to take the blame, right?
Yeah.
So
Todd Monken also is in that conversation, I think. I will say what's interesting about this coaching cycle is that I feel like outside of Ben Johnson, all of the defensive coordinators are better candidates for head coaching roles than the offensive coordinators who are up.
I can see it. I would still probably lean towards offensive guy unless I had a quarterback.
No, I would too. I would too. I'm just saying, like, if I had to pick if I'm ranking all these dudes as like leaders of men, in conjunction with play calling, I'm putting all these DCs over all these OCs.
Oh, I agree. Like, if I'm the Jags and I have Lawrence already, I might just go fucking Flores and pray he has a staff lined up on offense. Like, and I think he could get that turned around rather quick.
No, I'm with you.
I think that
the one thing I will say, my only problem with Brian Flores to Jacksonville is, and I know people watching from Jacksonville are going to get pissed at me, but Jacksonville is a soft football team, I feel like.
Very soft. That's Brian maybe
Flores,
why they need him.
But Brian Flores, and he had this problem in Miami too. Like, Brian Flores is a guy who's going to be a dick to people and really hold people accountable. And I don't know if this Jags organization is capable of taking a guy like that.
I agree, man, and no one wants to be held accountable, man. And,
And to be fair, I mean, I get it. You're dealing with grown men who make millions of dollars just for existing, but like, still, this is still a football game at the end of the day.
Yeah, no, and you can't let people like Jonathan Mingo and stuff and people like that disrespect the game and disrespect the process. And there's players on Jacksonville like Gabe Davis who's just like disrespect the game, like, because they're not professional. And like, and him and Brian Flores going hard on Tua, like, you notice how everyone made like a quick turn on that. Like, first they were condemning Brian Flores and saying, oh, he's a baddie and he's the reason why Tua sucked. And now once they see how the Miami Dolphins are soft, they have a different stance and say Mike McDaniels is a pussy. That's just how people are, man. And I don't know, man. I'm sure you saw that, but let's go, man. Let's go.
Yeah. All right.
No, Ghost Rider, I'm good, man. Ghost Rider, I'm good, man. All right, Mike. Any last words?
No, I'm good. Great weekend. We'll be better betting wise in the future, but yeah, definitely a fun divisional round.
All right. Have a good night. Chat, you were awesome. See you, Mike.
See you, bro.
All right, Mike. I'm on.